How's it going, everyone? My name is Drew Wonderdog, and today I wanted to show you my process for learning any new character in Mortal Kombat 11. So for today, we'll be learning Cetrion because I bet she's gonna win the vote in the upcoming poll for the next Inside the Mind video. So with that in mind, it's a good idea to learn her as early as possible. So the first thing I look for when learning a new character is their fastest attack. So let's go ahead and find that real quick. And I'm looking for two very important things. These two strings, Violent Gust and Life Cycle. Both of these strings are useful for different reasons. So first up we have Violent Gust. So this first hit, standing 1, is 8 frames on startup. So that's my go-to punish. If the opponent does anything -8 or more, I can then cancel that to get a full combo, which in this case would be my Close Geyser. However, here's the issue. In Mortal Kombat 11, typically your fastest move is a high attack, which means the opponent can duck under it and uppercut you, or they can do down 1 or down 3, any number of things to avoid that first hit. And that's why Life Cycle is so important. This attack is only 10 frames on startup, so still very fast, but more importantly, the opponent can't duck under this, they have to block it, otherwise I'm gonna hit them and get a knockdown or special cancel for a full combo. So whenever you learn a new character, it's not just important to find out which attack is the fastest, you also want to find the fastest move that the opponent has to block. And in Cetrion's case, it's a low, which is actually quite rare. More often than not, it's usually a mid attack. But even so, all that matters is the opponent has to deal with this string. They can't neutral duck under it, which they certainly could do for Violent Gust. So once you've figured out the character's fastest moves, the next thing I want to look for is their safe attack strings. And in this game, for something to be safe, it has to be -7 or less. Now some characters do have a 6 frame attack like Raiden or Garrus, so if you want to be extra safe, you can look for something below -6. But for most of the roster, -7 is just fine. Alright, so here we have all of Cetrion's safe attack strings. However, this first one is actually quite interesting. So the game says -8, so that should be punishable. But due to all this pushback, there's no way the opponent can punish me. There are no 8 frame moves that have that much range. So even though it should be punishable, there's so much distance that it's still safe on block. So when you're learning a new character, feel free to map every single string and have the opponent block every single one and check the pushback. Because even though a move might be -8 or more, it could have so much pushback that it's still safe. So next up we have Nature's Wrath. What's this like? Okay, I'm still very close to the opponent, but that's okay because I'm -4. It's still completely safe. How about Fire Nado? Alright, once again, very close to the opponent, but still -5, 100% safe on block. You don't typically want to be very close to the opponent, but being safe on block is still very nice. How about Fire and Brimstone? So once again, -8, it should be punishable, but look at all that pushback. Now I am worried if the opponent can interrupt that third hit or not, so real quick we should test that. Alright, so what I'm going to do is go into practice options, and then change the control player to character 2. I'm going to play as Raiden, and then I'm going to have Cetrion do that exact string, and I want to see if I can interrupt that third hit or not. It doesn't look like it, and in fact that's a counter hit, so that will crushing blow. So while it seemed like there was a gap there, there's definitely not, but don't be afraid to test that in training mode. It's a very good idea to see if attacks have any gaps or not. And then last but not least we have Life Cycle, which is only -5, so still not punishable, and also very fast. So very fast move, the opponent has to deal with it, but it's also safe on block and decent pushback as well. Some light attacks actually can't reach from there, so it's pretty darn good pushback. Alright, so now that we know which moves are safe on block, I want to find out if any moves are plus on block, that way I can do some frame traps. And since Cetrion is a zoner, you might think she doesn't have any frame traps, since she wants to be far away from the opponent, not up close. However, oddly enough, Cetrion does actually have some moves that are plus on block. So for example, if we check out Heaven's Wind, it is actually +3 on block. And Crushing Heel is also +3 on block, and then Bouncing Boulder, also +3 on block. So all of these moves are actually plus on block and could be used for a frame trap because once again back 3 is 10 frames. So if I can force Raiden to block my standing 1, then my back 3 is guaranteed. If he presses any buttons or tries to jump away, I'll catch him, getting a knockdown or a full combo. However, here's the problem. Heaven's Wind is a high attack, so Raiden could just duck under it, right? Even duck under it while blocking. Well, here's the thing. Some moves in Mortal Kombat 11, if you land them, can actually force the opponent to block your high attacks that come after. Now it doesn't work for every high attack, but some moves can be forced to block. So to test that, you want to go to AI options, and then go to block mode. Make sure it's set to auto. That's the first thing you want to do, and then for movement mode, make sure the opponent is ducking. And now let's go ahead and test things out. I'm gonna land down 1 and then see if Raiden is forced to block standing 1. And as you can see, yes he is, and I'm at +3. So as long as I land that initial hit, I can actually force the opponent to block my follow-up, which will then lead to a frame trap, so very cool stuff. The idea would be, land your down 1, then go for standing 1, and once that's blocked, I can do back 3, 2. So kind of like this. Just like that, and that was a guaranteed frame trap. Once again, if Raiden tried to attack me or escape, he would have gotten hit there. However, now let's see if this trick works for crushing heel. Sadly, it does not. The move just has too much startup. It's not possible to force Raiden to block this one. So in this situation, if I wanted to force Raiden to block high to get my crushing heel to work for a frame trap, I would want to do a lot of short hops. I land a few short hops, he starts standing up, I do crushing heel, and then I'm at +3 on block. So even though I can't jail the opponent with a down 1, there are still ways to trick the opponent into blocking. And then last but not least, we have bouncing boulder, and this one might actually be my favorite, because up close, it's only +3 on block. However, if I'm further away, it increases. So now we're at +6, and then at full screen, check this out. We're now at +24, and that's very important because Geyser just happens to take 18 frames to start up. So what that means is, if I force the opponent to block the boulder from far away, I can then force them to block the Geyser follow-up. If Raiden tries to throw a lightning bolt or fly at me, anything at all, I'll catch him with Geyser and then extend for a full combo. And I can teleport in this build, so I can catch him with Geyser from full screen, teleport to where he is, and then still keep that combo going. So believe it or not, even from very far away, Cetrion still has frame traps. So now the next thing I want to look for is frame advantage on hit, otherwise known as staggers. So for example, this string right here, +15 on hit, that's really good. How about this move? +11 on hit, not half bad. Now I'm not going to tag this move because it knocks the opponent down, which could still be good in the corner, but it's not a stagger. Right now I only want moves that leave the opponent standing. Alright, and here we go, all of Cetrion's best staggers, so now it's important to make sure the opponent isn't blocking at all, because I want to see how these moves behave on hit. So Violent Gust. Alright, we're at +13, but the opponent's pretty far away. Even so, I could force them to block my forward too. Because it's 14 frames on startup, there is a 2 frame gap there. There's no way they're going to do anything. They're guaranteed to get hit as long as I time it correctly. Unless they block, I'm going to catch them right then and there. So how about Nature's Wrath? What's that like? Alright, +11 on hit, but the opponent is pretty far away. So it's not the best kind of stagger, still works though, and especially in the corner it'll get even stronger. But typically for a stagger, you don't want the opponent to be very far away. So Violent Gust is still better as far as a stagger is concerned. How about Blaze? Alright, similar situation, we're at +12, not bad, but the opponent's pushed pretty far away, and that's not preferred. What about Natural Ending? Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The opponent is close, and we're also at +11. So if you're fighting someone who loves to mash down 1, or mash down 3, or mash uppercut, this thing is going to keep staggering them over and over again, and they're going to keep getting hit as long as you time things correctly. And the same could also be said for Violent Gust. Honestly, all of these moves are pretty good for staggers, but I like Natural Ending the most because it starts off mid. Everything else I'm pretty sure starts off high, so the opponent could try to duck under it in the neutral, but not Natural Ending. This move is guaranteed to land if the opponent isn't blocking, so that's very nice. So once you've figured out what's safe on block and also discovered a few frame traps, now you want to look at the crushing blows. So here we have every crushing blow for Cetrion, and she actually has quite a lot. So the first one is Fire and Brimstone. So this one happens as a counter hit or a punish. And that's important because this first hit, standing 2, is 9 frames on startup. So it's not our fastest move, that's still standing 1. But if the opponent does ever do something -9 or more, and they don't have 2 bars to break away, I'm gonna go for this crushing blow. Just keep in mind, this crushing blow and other crushing blows like this should not be your go-to punish all the time. Because once again, if the opponent has 2 bars, they'll just drop out, and essentially you've wasted this crushing blow. And then next up we have the down 2, but every character's uppercut crushing blows, nothing special there. But keep in mind, some characters have really bad uppercuts. And then we have the throw crushing blows. Now throw crushing blows are very interesting in this game because some characters don't have any, and then some characters have it for both throws. Cetrion only has it for her forward throw. However, just like Jackie, her throw crushing blow only works in one variation, and that's variation 3, which sadly is her worst variation. It's never going to work in a tournament setting. Now of course you can still play it online if you want to just have some fun with it, but outside of that, it's a very bad variation, so sadly this throw crushing blow is pretty much useless. And then we have natural barrier. So I love this string, because it's actually safe on block if I amplify it, and it also deflects projectiles. So if I deflect a projectile and then amplify, I get my crushing blow. So it's a very practical crushing blow and does decent damage as well. And since it is safe on block, it's very low risk and a pretty good reward. Now keep in mind, after an update, the opponent can actually flawless block that second hit. Now it's only going to happen at high level, but even so it's still a risk to keep in mind. And next up we have Boulder Bash. So if this attack lands by itself when the opponent is jumping, I'll get a crushing blow. And that's very good because this move doesn't really hit the opponent unless they are jumping. So the idea would be lots of ground boulders, get the opponent frustrated, they jump, and then boom, you catch them with this. Very easy crushing blow and a little bit more risk than natural barrier, but still pretty darn useful. Which sadly can't be said for Geyser. This crushing blow is pretty much never going to happen due to its requirement. You have to whiff this move 3 times in a row, and then after that you get your crushing blow. Now here's the thing. Even if you do manage to make that happen, the crushing blow isn't that good because the opponent could just drop out, and if they're really far away, the most you're going to get is a second Geyser. So not only is it very tough to pull off, but it's not even that useful. And it's honestly a similar case for Tendril Pull. This one actually does decent damage, but the only time this happens is if the opponent blocks late. So in other words, you can't control whether or not this crushing blow happens, it's entirely up to the opponent blocking late. Now if that does happen, it's still some pretty decent damage and it doesn't cost you any bar. So it could happen every now and then, but once again, not a very likely crushing blow. So as you can see, not every crushing blow is useful, and also keep in mind, some characters don't need crushing blows to be good. Johnny Cage is still considered a top 3 character by many players, and he doesn't have very many crushing blows at all. So even if your character's crushing blows aren't that good, they could still be a good character overall. And once I've figured out all of these different things, then I finally look at every single attack string and every single special move to find out how every single one works. And then once I have a pretty good idea of what every single move has to offer, how it should be used in a combo or in the neutral, and after checking all its frame data, I then like to go online and watch pro players use these exact characters, whether it be at a tournament or just high level online play. Because watching a pro player use your character can give you new insight on how to use that character effectively. And then once you've done all of these steps, it's time to take that character and go online and have fun. Thank you so much for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below, it really does help my channel out a ton. And then why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell, that way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.